I think this thing is on. Yeah. Okay. Hey, what's up? I've been spending some time with Remix recently, and I wanted to do a quick video about what I've learned so far and things I like and things that I don't like. This is not like an official tutorial or anything like that. It's just my experience with it and a little bit of context, like stage setting, stuff I've used in the past and all that kind of stuff. So I've used Gatsby a lot. I was all in on it. I don't know, was that 5 years ago, 6 years ago at this point? I had just started working at Cloudflare as a developer advocate and had been using Gatsby on a previous incarnation of this YouTube channel where I was doing remote conferences called ByteConf. And so I had used, Gatsby to do like static site generation based on dynamic data. And what that meant essentially is I had a Sanity data set, Sanity.io, which is a headless CMS. And what I would do is take all of the JSON from that. So like in this case, it would be conferences which have talks and speakers and stuff like that. And I would pull down all of that JSON right at the beginning of the build process and just output all of the static content. It was pretty cool because the resource requirement was super low, obviously, right? Like it's a static HTML, CSS, JavaScript. There's no dynamic stuff. Now, if you ever did want to get into sort of dynamic, handing off to the client or something like that, it did get a little tricky and there wasn't a great solution for that, at least at the time. I've gotten in trouble in the past for saying inflammatory Gatsby things. People are like, that's not fair. And it's like, bro, I'm just building whatever I'm building, No need to take it so seriously or whatever. My big thing with Gatsby that was really frustrating was building it. Literally just getting it to build was so difficult. It had dependencies on all this image stuff, which I think probably seemed like a good idea at the time to do things like have image processing built into the framework and stuff like that. But what it really meant is it had all these like hard dependencies on I'm assuming C++ libraries or I don't know, something like that, right? And it was impossible to get it running. And a perfect example of this is our Cloudflare Workers landing page, which we built or sort of rebuilt a long time ago in Gatsby. I've been at Cloudflare for 5 years, and it was one of the first things I worked on. We added this section, and maybe I'll overlay it here, and we can even go look on it. I'll look on the laptop here in a little bit of like how to like do the same sort of thing that I'm talking about, taking a bunch of data in, again from Sanity, because I was the one that was in charge and said, let's use Sanity, which has been great for the record. This is not an anti-Sanity thing. They're super flexible with whatever the framework and build processes and stuff like that. But basically what we did is we took all of these projects that people have built with Cloudflare Workers and put them into this headless CMS. They have different categories. They have like assets, write-ups, and markdown and all this sort of stuff. And then we use it to build this /built with project. So that all worked fine. It was a cool project, still up. It's what I'm working on again with Remix here. We'll show you in a little bit. And the thing that I found really complicated though was literally just getting it to deploy and build normally after 2 years and 15 node versions, probably some major Gatsby releases, definitely some minor Gatsby releases. I literally cannot get it to run on my computer locally. It's crazy. It's really frustrating. So we had some new stuff we wanted to add to the built with, the built with workers sort of like landing page, change some of the way that things are done and all this stuff. And I got so frustrated. I was just like, screw this, honestly. Let's just rewrite this in Remix. I want to learn Remix anyway because I see people using it for what I believe are similar sort of things that I was using Gatsby for. And it's been pretty positive so far. The project's almost done. I kind of walk through it a little bit and kind of show you my understanding of it in case you are maybe in a similar boat to me, which is like you picked up all this Jamstack stuff a couple years ago. It seems pretty cool, seemed pretty cool. But, it's time to kind of update your thinking. Get up to date. It's 2024 now, Jamstack stuff was like 2018. Let me grab my laptop here and we'll clear off my terribly messy desk, and we'll, by the way, no video yesterday, because my camera settings are screwed up. Recorded a whole video about tools that I was using and things I found useful in my day-to-day developer life recently, like Zellige and BTOP and a couple other things. And there was some like weird scan lines coming down the video the whole time. I don't really understand cameras. I try not to like that deep into it. So no video yesterday, but I'll obviously be back at it today. Anyway, let's jump into it. Okay, so let's full screen this. So just running this Remix branch here in Zellige. Take a little look at, let's look at the sort of structure first. So pieces in here, we have the app folder, which is our actual Remix application. We have Sanity, which is a Sanity workspace, where all of the content stuff is stored. And then we also have a worker, which is a Cloudflare Workers sort of sidecar application that runs at a specific route, specifically the /playground route. So let's open this up, and I really like, the first thing I want to cover is I really like the routing stuff in Remix. Gatsby didn't really have this. It sort of had, you have this kind of like Gatsby, and maybe, I think this is different now, just for the record. I think this is like a totally different thing than it used to be, but like, you know, this is my first impressions of Remix. It's not a like Gatsby review. It's not a review of either, really, right? Having these routes here, like index, which kind of corresponds to this get slash, you know, we have built with dot underscore index, which corresponds to built with, you know, index. Built with collections, dollar sign slug is like built with collections, my collection, right? And then when you can capture that sort of slug as a parameter here. Let's take a look at that one actually. Routes built with collection slug. So it is kind of a React component. It's like a page, right? I guess is what I'd probably call it, but it's like a React component with a couple other things that you can export, other functions you can export to do other things. So for instance, this meta function here, it's maybe not the best thing to start with, but basically you can export this. Oh, something's going on with my, is there like an emoji or something? I don't know what that was. Anyway, you can export this function here, and you can set up all of these meta tags. And even better, they can be conditional based on, this is like cool SEO stuff, right? So you can do conditional or dynamic meta tags based on the data for this page. So this is a page of collections. Let me show you what it actually looks like. So like each one of these is a collection of projects. So build AI applications on Cloudflare. This is a list of projects. This all comes from Sanity. But what we want is we want this page to be called like build AI applications on Cloudflare instead of just like Cloudflare Workers, right? We want to have stuff that's a little bit more dynamic so that when we open this tag, these tags here, move my camera here, build AI applications on Cloudflare, build with workers, Cloudflare Workers. So there's this sort of hierarchy. This is like classic SEO stuff. And you can just export a function here called meta and, you know, have access to that. A query here, this is actually doesn't need to be exported. This is a Grok query, which is Sanity's like kind of query language thing. It's sort of GraphQL-y, JSON-y. It's pretty cool. But then we have this loader here. This is where we get that really cool like server side rendering of this route. So like the loader hits on the server side, it says go get this client, fetch this query with the slug parameter, right? Which is like this, you know, AI workers. So it says go fetch a collection where the slug is equal to the parameter. And then what we get back here is JSON. Shiro, stop. So with that out of the way, then what we can do is we can just get that data inside of our React component. So I just have this built with page, and I can grab the collection out and then use it inside of this component. So, the one thing I'll say I don't quite understand yet is like this sort of delineation between like server and client. I believe a lot of this is happening server side. It's doing a server render, and then there is like some client side stuff that happens. For instance, we have like a search component, like an input that we only render on the client side, and a couple other things like that. But so far, I like the layout of this so far. I mean, there's things I don't 100% understand yet. Like there's this whole, yeah, I think it's fine. There's this whole, I have it open here. It's not this page, it's this stuff, like the entries. So we have this entry client, entry server. So like this entry server one in particular, this is like totally stock. I don't even really understand what's going on here. And I'll need to look into it and understand it more because I think you can do cool stuff here. This is a Cloudflare Workers function. So in theory, or it looks like it, not, it kind of looks like one. So in theory, you could do something like, augment it with other tools and stuff like that. Which would be pretty cool. But I have not used it a ton yet, so I have no clue what I'm talking about, really. I just think it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna jump back over here. So it's pretty cool so far. I'm enjoying it and I'm finding it interesting. It seems to me to be the right amount of like a script frameworky kind of cool stuff without being too complicated, which I really like. So I've used a couple other things. I've used Astro a little bit. I've used SvelteKit. There's nothing wrong with any of them. They just didn't click for me. And that might be because I didn't have a great project to work on. One thing that I think really helps learning a new framework or anything like that is just to have something of like moderate complexity to tackle and work on. Because I think if you just are doing like Hello Worlds and stuff like that, it's just like kind of meaningless. It's good to understand like, well, how do I get the framework up and running? What are the CLI commands and stuff like that? But for instance, with this remix stuff, when I actually had like real data that already exists, literally hundreds of entries or records inside of our Sanity headless CMS, and I have to, actually load it. I can't just fake it for like the MVP or whatever. It's like real stuff that I really have to load. It makes a really big difference. And it helped me wrap my head around things a lot faster. And I think like that Neo in the Matrix, like I know remix, I know Kung Fu. It's what it feels like. I'm certainly not an expert and I'm still learning some stuff that I think I'm probably doing wrong. But yeah, I think that's it for today. What am I at? I can't even tell on my camera, which is great. But I think that's pretty much it for today. Remix is cool. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about some of this SEO projects that I've been working on my off time. But yeah, thanks. See you in the next one.